All right, we've been getting fog ice. At least this morning it's 45 degrees, so there's no fog ice. But last few days in certain areas of Pennsylvania, they've been getting fog ice. And what fog ice is, or ice fog, whichever way you want to call it, is the roadway surfaces on bridges and sidewalks and places that are cooler than their surrounding ground. When the fog lands on it, it freezes and it creates what you call black ice, white ice, whatever you want to call it. But by the end of the day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it gets really nice, and I go out for a walk. And you know, I think about projects, and this command transmitter, you know, I got it to the point where it's all original now. So you got very few options. You can operate this thing if you got the right license. You can use the VFO built into it, but if you don't, you have to make it crystal controlled. Now, if you make it crystal controlled, you have 2 options. You can go in on the VFO and cut wires and add in a crystal socket and make that your oscillator. Then it's legal for a novice or a technician, the bottom, whatever the bottom end of ham is. So anyway, I didn't want that option. I want to leave this original. So if you go looking around, you'll see this on several places on the internet. See, it's a nice little bracket and a tube, and this is how far I've gotten so far on it. Okay, and I want to show you stuff that other people don't show you. I've never seen on a video. Okay, now on the bottom of every octal tube is one of these. Okay, and you can use these in many ways. Here's an example. You have to drill 4 holes in Bakelite, or I like to call it Breakolite if you're not careful. All right, now let's see if this is in the frame. This will sit in here. Okay, A and B switch. You can put 2 crystals. You can put 2 crystals in this. Okay. I know some of you guys like to see this stuff. But in other words, you can put 2 different crystals, and then you have your A and B switch, which you can get from the front. This is the back of the unit. There's a hatch cover. I don't know if this is going to go up past the hatch cover. I don't know yet. But in other words, the hatch cover will just have to stay open while this module's in here. But this module will allow it to be used. Let's get into the frame here. Okay, A-B switch. Okay, and I would suggest making this out of steel. It's a little flimsy made out of aluminum. But on the bottom of every octal socket, or octal tube, is an octal male. All right, now this unit here, if you look at the schematic for it, or the pictorial, it shows you these sockets. Okay, and then this is a male version. I only have them in female version. You drill a big hole, you make a big hole, you put this through the hole, and then there's a ring that goes on the other side. You work this ring on. It's a split ring, and you work it on. And that goes on there. Actually, this isn't actually the ring. This is actually this goes on as a cushion. It's not the actual ring that you walk on there. But forget buying those sockets. So if you want to build this old unit to a plug-in crystal unit, so this unit becomes legal to use on the technician band, 80 meters, and then you could also build the rig like this for a 40 meter ARC-5. This is a 19. I believe that the ARC-T20 is the 40 meters. A lot of numbers for me to remember. Don't forget, I'm dyslexic. Certain things I can remember, certain things I can't. But in other words, once you realize this makes a BC 454 able to transmit into a BC 453 as a Q5er without changing either radio. You take out one of the IF tubes, you stick this in, and this wire comes out. It gets the voltage from the socket. This is an antenna that goes over to the BC 453. And then you got a Q5er. It's a real net. By using 2 receivers, you have a really narrow receiver for copy and code on, in my case, 80 meters. Okay, and I built this just to prove it could be done. Okay, that's what I'm doing. I do a lot of experiments. I think, what if, and then I build it. Okay, and this is crystal control. There's a crystal here, and the IF frequency beats against this and mixes in this tube, and it comes out as this didn't come out as 455, it came out as 450, which the BC 453 can dial in. But I just wanted to show you, I'm still on this, and it's not real fun. If you look at these bolts down in here, those are 256, and they're custom cut, so they won't be too long. Okay, and like I said, when you drill this socket out, you're up in here. Okay, you'll notice there's a ring around this, a rim, and you got to be centered in that rim. And I've drilled a lot of these, and like I say, I don't call them Bakelite, I'm calling them Breakolite. I've been drilling Bakelite since I was in the 4th grade, because everything was, we really didn't have plastic around radios. Everything was like Bakelite cabinets. And if you take your time and drill it, or drill it with a tiny drill first and then a series of other drills, you'll get a perfect hole in there. You won't get any spider cracks. But you have to have the patience, okay? But I just wanted to show you this, and this socket here, I'll show you the socket now. It's mounted, but I'll show you what it looks like separate. I saw these on eBay, and it's an AB socket. Oh, I got a screw in there. AB, okay? It's actually marked A and B, and it holds the old-fashioned crystals, 239, 237, whatever T somethings. These are new, so it's a little tough getting it in. But in other words, that's the sockets I'm using. Now, you'll see these for $18 made out of plastic. There are people making these with 3D printers. Now, this is a porcelain one. This is porcelain. I didn't want to use this. Okay, I used it for a transmitter I built maybe 4 years ago. What I did was I saw this radio transmitter in the back of a magazine. Maybe it was $29, $19. And the guy claimed that you could transmit and receive on 80 meters. So I found the schematic and I went and built it. And it's a regenerative, and it uses the same oscillator to transmit. It was interesting. I built it just to see it work. Okay? And so at that time I bought these sockets. Let me take the crystal off. Don't want to confuse you. And this, I don't think this was this could be from the CB days when crystals were really big. I don't know. But this is a clinch. Okay, it actually has a real American name on it. And drilling the holes to mount it. I don't know if you can see in there. Yeah, it looks pretty good. It wasn't easy. And I looked up the distance between these two pins, figuring it was the same as the socket, and it is. But I found a website that was wrong. It said these pins are a ½ inch apart. It's a fraction of that. It's a little bit less than a ½ inch. But once I got the socket mounted, it was moot. You know, I custom filed in those 4 holes. And then, of course, I got a leftover switch for A and B. And then the Bakelite or Breakolite socket from an octal tube. But, oh, and you can also turn these into a plug. You move these 4 pins apart, these 4 pry marks. It's folded over here. You move them back with a screwdriver. Take your time. Don't put the screwdriver through your hand. You move these back, and then you'll notice this wiggles. And you wiggle it back and forth, and the little wires that are soldered in here will break off from the tube. And then you got the tube. The tube is actually inside the metal case. Then you drill a hole in the top, and you put a rubber grommet in there. And then you run your wire out. So this becomes a plug. That's what we used to use in the old days, the olden days, as we would say. But I just wanted to show you, I'm still on this project, and it's very easy to look at this and go, yeah, I can build that. I see those messages all the time. How many people do you think actually built this? Okay, But you build this when you don't want to change, in this case, ARC-5 T19 original. You put this in. As soon as you take the tube out, this tube, then the next thing over is the crystal for the calibration, but it's not a crystal for transmitting. And then next thing over would be the indicator tube. Okay, but I'm going to show you something real quick that I didn't realize until I'm halfway in this. All right, the tube gets mounted in a socket on this thing like that. So you have to take this tube out and the calibrator, which you're not going to be able to use anyway. And the Magic Eye tube will be worthless to you as soon as you put this oscillator in. But this becomes the oscillator for the transmitter. And whatever crystal is up in here, and if you got the switch the right way, I put the AB switch on. Normally it's just a crystal. That's the frequency you'll transmit on. You know. But like I said, if you build this bracket, go with a piece of steel. I wasn't in the mood to work with steel, and I really didn't have a piece to work with. I'd have to dig something up, and you know, it's really getting wacky. I have almost every part in the world here, but somehow I get a project that's even predates my stuff, like those special sockets. I've never seen them until I saw a command radio. So you're talking, these things were popular probably 1935, 20s to 35, octal, and they fit in one big hole. And like I said, there's a ring you work on the bottom, and to get it back apart, you work the ring back low. It's a ring similar to the one to hold your car keys, similar but not exact. I think that's it. I think I covered everything. You know, the next video will be the tube mounted in here and it working, showing on the scope. I think that's it. All right, that's it.